about a year ago, I put up a video making a jig for my bandsaw so that I could cut down firewood that had a pretty nice looking grain on it and get small pieces of lumber to make projects with. And this is it. It was a very simple build, and it's worked fairly well up until recently. I had several comments indicating this was a pretty nice jig, but it would be improved if it was adjustable. And I'm now in the position to say I agree with them. So what I want to do is experiment. I have a couple of designs that I want to work on, and basically what it is just making one of these supporting blocks be able to go back and forth so that I can cut smaller pieces, and in fact I want to make this larger so that I can get maybe a 22 or 23 inch piece in here, because right now I'm bounded by 18 inches. So that's what I'm going to do. This is the end that I will be pushing on, so this is going to be the one that's solidly in place. This is going to be the movable block, and on this particular sled, the way I'm going to do that is by putting a T-track down one side, and I'm also going to be putting a guidance skid on the other side so that when this moves and has pressure put on it, it won't tend to rack. So I'm going to be putting two grooves in the top of this board, 3/4 of an inch wide and about 3/8 of an inch deep, and it's going to be a stop run because I don't want it to go really much more than about here. So there I got my couple of grooves, and if you look closely, you can see I had a little hiccup there because I realized that in my original placement, I had a real chance of dinging some of the pins that I used, putting that miter stop in there. So I moved it over just a little bit and wasted a little bit of wood, but not bad. Okay, what I'm doing, since this is the movable support, this is going to be a positioning runner that I'll glue in place there, and it will ride in this slot. This will be the locking track, and this will just be an anti-racking slot. Ordinarily I would epoxy this nut into this little handle, but I'm going to do it Izzy's way. He seems to like super glue. Let's see how that works. And the last step on this particular sled is just going to be putting some screws in there that would hold the firewood in place. I think what I'll do is take that out first, and then I'll make that face flat with my new sled. I'd say that worked out exactly the way I wanted it to. And that piece of wood would not have fit on my old sawmill sled. Now I've got a perfectly serviceable, infinitely adjustable bandsaw sled put together here. But I'm still a little irritated, even though it works fine, that I really didn't like the design that I had to put together for this. Using this expensive T-track, and I had to have a dado stack to make these dados in this piece of 3/4 inch plywood. But after I'd ordered it and I received it, I thought about a very different, much less expensive method of putting this sled together, and that's what I'm going to go through rather quickly now. But I'm not going to be cutting any dados or using any T-track. I'm just going to be using some very inexpensive pieces and a little bit of a dowel. And this is going to be the retaining knob for the second sled, and that's a 5/16 carriage bolt. A little super glue, an accelerator. I'm just going to drive a 5/16 hole through this. I don't want a whole lot of slop. And this is where my retaining knob is going to be fitted through. And then I'll be drilling and tapping holes along the sled. And that's going to hold it in place. I'm also going to put a couple of more holes, 5/16 holes, and I'm going to be gluing small stubs of 5/16 dowel there, and those will be what keeps it from twisting when I'm actually in use. In this operation, I'm going to be drilling the holes that I'm going to tap. So I'm using a 1/4 inch bit, and I've marked off my center points at 1 inch intervals, and then I'll tap them. This next operation is for locating the center holes that the dowels will actually be plugged into. And the reason that I held off on that is so that any variations that I made in those holes would be taken into account for this particular piece. So here's the new design. Movable, that's the pusher side. This is the movable side. And here we got a piece of wood. Let's see if we can line this up. I would say that both of those bandsaw sleds are very functional and much handier than the old one, which just had a solid piece there and a solid piece there, and hopefully the piece of wood that you want to cut fit into it. Now it's adjustable and fairly sizably adjustable. This is the expensive one, if you want to call it expensive. It's using leftover wood. You know, you make your own knobs. But this track is pretty expensive, and as I understand it, in Europe you don't get to use dado sets. So this one might be completely out for your purposes anyway. This one is way less expensive because all you're doing is drilling holes. So this might be the one for you. Works fine. I'm Tom Stevens. Come on back. I'll have something again sometime.